Hey everyone, Mr. DVB here. In today's video, I'm going to be going over the 2023 Oscar nominations, which were released this morning, very early, I think at like 6 a.m. or so I was dead asleep, not watching the live stream, but I am looking at the nominees now, and I'm going to be going over each category, discussing what I think should win, what I think will win, because those can be two different things, and then talking about films that were snubbed, like deserved nominations that weren't. So let's kick this off. We have actor in a leading role. The nominees are Austin Butler for Elvis, Colin Farrell for Banshees of Inisherin, or I don't remember how to pronounce it, but I don't think it's Inisherin. Anyways, Brendan Fraser for The Whale, Paul Mescal for Aftersun, and Bill Nye for Living. So I haven't really heard much about Living at all. Aftersun I've heard good things about, but I haven't seen either of those two. The rest I have seen, and I think it's really between Brendan Fraser and Austin Butler this year. I don't think Colin Farrell will be taking the award. I thought he was really good in the movie, but to me, these other two performances just stand out more. Austin Butler, I mean, he kills it as Elvis. I mean, he nails the mannerisms, the physicality of the role, the voice. The singing is incredible. Everything he embodies that role so perfectly well. And this is definitely the movie that skyrocketed his career. Because before this, I mean, he was in, I remember him in like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood as like a very minor supporting role. And then now everybody knows his name, and it's because of Elvis. Brendan Fraser in The Whale, incredible performance. I've always really liked the actor, always felt bad for him, like, you know, what happened with his career and what happened with his personal life. So it's great to see him have a comeback in the last couple of years, but especially just this year in particular with this movie, him getting an Oscar nomination. So, like, you know, either of these two I would be happy with winning, either Austin Butler or Brendan Fraser. I want Brendan Fraser to win it just from a personal standpoint as well, because I just feel like that would be such a great thing to see. But then also, you know, Austin Butler totally deserves it as well. So it's either of them. I'm happy either way. I would give the slight edge to Brendan Fraser, I think, maybe. It's like back in 2019 when it was between Joaquin Phoenix for Joker and Adam Driver for Marriage Story. Same thing. I want both of them to win so badly. So I just, yeah, I don't know if Brendan Fraser will ever get nominated again. I mean, he could, but I feel like this is his movie, this is his time, so I'm hoping he just gets it for this. So he's my pick, I would have to say. Then we have actor in a supporting role. It's between Brendan Gleeson for Banshees of Inisherin, Brian Tyree Henry for Causeway, Judd Hirsch for Fabelmans, Barry Keoghan for Banshees of Inisherin, and Ke Huy Quan for Everything Ever All at Once. Causeway is the only one I haven't seen. Brendan Gleeson I thought was great in Banshees. Judd Hirsch in Fabelmans, you know, that's a very minor role, and this is supporting role, so it makes sense, but he's in the movie for maybe like 3 to 5 minutes, like one scene essentially, and he's really good in that one scene, but I just don't see him winning because the other actors, they do have a lot more screen time. Barry Keoghan, though, excellent in that movie. I would actually put him above Brendan Gleeson probably. I just really liked his character in that movie. And then Ke Huy Quan for Everything Ever All at Once, who seems to be kind of like the favorite right now. He's been winning like everywhere and everywhere. And I think he definitely deserves it. I would be totally cool with that. I mean, I also, again, just like Brendan Fraser, like I grew up watching a lot of movies with him, right? Like Temple of Doom and Goonies. He was just a big part of like these movies I loved when I was a kid. So seeing him have a huge comeback as well, I almost hope he wins just because, you know, I hope him and Brendan Fraser both get it, and it's just like a year of comebacks, right? That would be so great to see. So yeah, he's my guess, and my personal pick, honestly, I would probably just go with Barry Keoghan or Ke Huy Quan, either of them. All right, then we have actress in a leading role. We have Cate Blanchett for Tar, Ana de Armas for Blonde, Andrea Riseborough for To Leslie, Michelle Williams for Fabelmans, and Michelle Yeoh for Everything Ever All at Once. Only one I haven't seen anything of. I haven't watched all of Blonde. I've watched like the first 40 minutes or so when it dropped on Netflix, and I just never finished it. It's cool to see her nominated. I actually kind of forgot about that movie, to be honest, and didn't even think about it, but that's nice to see her make her way in there. I think it's between Michelle Yeoh and Cate Blanchett, though. My personal pick is Cate Blanchett. I just really liked her performance in Tar. I thought there was a lot of depth to it, and it's just, to me, it's more what I would expect over Michelle Yeoh. Still excellent performance, but I'm gonna go with this one for my guess and for my personal pick, but I think it's either of them. Michelle Williams was also great in The Fabelmans, but I'm kind of surprised that was leading role. I would have expected that to have been supporting, but I don't know, I can kind of see it. Then we have actress in a supporting role. We have Angela Bassett for Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Hong Shao for The Whale, Carrie Condon for Banshees of Inisherin, Jamie Lee Curtis for Everything Ever Once, and Stephanie Hsu for Everything Ever All at Once. Angela Bassett, power performance there, like excellent. The one scene in particular, obviously that everybody knows about, where she is talking to, I think it's Okoye, is like her best scene in that movie easily, and probably like the whole reason she's nominated. Hong Shao in The Whale, that's nice to see, because I actually thought she was really good in the movie, and I haven't heard a whole lot about her. I don't really pay attention to the other award shows, to be honest. I'll be on Twitter and I'll see like, oh, this won that, but I don't usually look at the nominees, so she might have been nominated at other award shows, but not that I'm aware of. But she was really good in that movie, so it's nice to see her in there. Really good performance as well, Carrie Condon. Jamie Lee Curtis is the only one here I just disagree with. I don't know who I would replace her with, so I don't really care, but I just don't really understand the buzz behind the performance. She was good for what she was playing. It just, to me, doesn't at all seem like an Oscar-y role. Like, I could probably find many other performances that I would put above that. So it's just kind of a weird one to me, to be honest. It's just like the movie's so hyped up, so it's like, oh, we'll give her a nomination, but I don't really think she's deserving of one. Stephanie, on the other hand, definitely a performance that I think was more powerful than Jamie Lee Curtis's and stood out more, so I can understand that one more. My personal pick and guess is Angela Bassett. I think she's winning, and I think she is the one that stood out the most to me here. Animated feature film. We have Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, which I actually have not seen. Marcel, The Shell with the Shoes On, which has been in my list for a long time of a movie I need to watch, so still haven't seen that one. Puss in Boots and Turning Red are the only two that I have seen. And then there's The Sea Beast as well, which I've seen a little bit of clips from. So I feel like Pinocchio is kind of like the popular one right now. Well, I think it's between Pinocchio and Puss in Boots. I think earlier in the year Marcel shelled the shoe on, but I feel like it's kind of been taken over by Pinocchio, as far as like, the not traditional animated movie that is being talked about a lot. So I feel like it's gonna be this. I feel like this one has probably the strongest narrative and everything. Whereas like Puss in Boots: The Last Wish is just like super popular, and I loved it. I thought it was excellent, and I love the animation style and everything. That's my personal favorite of these. And the thing with the animated category is it kind of just comes down to what's the popular movie at the time, because when last year everybody was like Mitchell's vs. the Machines is the best animated movie, like that was just the thing, and then Encanto ended up winning. But at the same time, Encanto, that Bruno song was like blowing up on TikTok, and everybody was talking about it. So it seemed like the only reason it won was because it was just the current hot topic. Whereas like this year, I feel like right now, Puss in Boots is the talked about movie. So it very well could be Puss in Boots, and I would be so happy with that. But I don't think Puss in Boots is talked about in the same way that something like, that movie I just mentioned was, like Encanto, right? Because Encanto was for like the song, and it just became like this song that had over like 1 billion views or whatever, whereas Puss in Boots isn't like that. It's just people really like it. So I'm gonna actually stick with Pinocchio for my guess for what I think will win. My personal favorite is Puss in Boots, however. And surprising to see no bad guys on there, because I thought that was really good. Turning Red, I didn't really care for it that much. I just thought the third act was so like chaotic, and it just didn't do it for me. Cinematography: All Quiet on the Western Front, Bardo, Elvis, Empire of Light, and Tar. Honestly, not a fan of this category this year. A little disappointing. I think something like Northman was kind of snubbed for any awards, period, and I would have easily thrown that in here. I think Batman, honestly, was kind of snubbed for cinematography. I know it's a comic book movie, so it's like, they're not going to nominate comic book movies for a ton of stuff, but to me, that one, like, Joker got nominees, and I would put Batman on the same level of Joker, if not better cinematography. So those two I feel like could have made their way in here, and maybe Nope. But yeah, I don't know. Bardo I haven't even really heard of, to be honest. All Quiet on the Western Front didn't particularly stand out to me from a cinematography standpoint. It was good, but it's just like a couple of years ago we had 1917, and that obviously stood out as a World War I movie. This is another World War I movie that doesn't stand out anywhere as near as much as that previous winner. So it's just, to me, doesn't really deserve a nomination, personally. Elvis, I'm fine with. The movie's got a very particular style that is not for everybody. Empire of Light I have not seen, but it's Roger Deakins, so, it makes its way in there. And then there's Tar. I honestly don't know. This category is kind of confusing me this year. Also, like Avatar, I thought maybe would have been in here. So I don't even really know what to guess. I guess I'll guess Tar. I don't know. My personal pick out of these would... Tar, I guess. I don't know. kind of a weird one this year. Costume design: Babylon, Black Panther, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. Costume design's another weird one because so often it just kind of goes to the movies that have like they're like these period piece films that have like really nice dresses, and then they win, and it's like, okay, well, what about like fantasy movies or like sci-fi where like the outfits are so like detailed? And it's like when I'm trying to think of a good example here. Like, for example, like I'm kind of surprised we didn't see like any Star Wars movies get nominated for like costume design with like Force Awakens and stuff, when it's like they have these insane outfits that are just so detailed and everything, and then it just ends up like, you know, a movie that'll win will just be something like, you know, Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. It's just dresses, and obviously they have to put a ton of work into making those, and I'm not like trying to downplay that work at all. It's just I kind of wish that category was a bit more diverse, is my point, because it kind of just usually seems to be period pieces. Black Panther, the first one, won this category, so it probably has a very good chance at winning again. I don't really know this year. I feel like Everything Everywhere All at Once could win. My pick, though, is going to be Elvis, just because, you know, they nailed all the Elvis outfits and all the other characters and just the time period and everything. So that one's kind of hard to say. I feel like it could be Babylon, it could be Elvis, it could be any of these. I don't really know with this category. My pick, I guess, is Elvis, though. Directing, we have Banshees of Inisherin, Martin McDonough, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Daniel Kwan and Daniel Sharant, I don't know how to pronounce that. Fabelmans, Spielberg, Tar, Todd Field, and Triangle of Sadness. Triangle of Sadness, just heard about like today. Didn't know about that movie prior to this. I think it's between these two. I think like earlier on in the year, I was kind of expecting Banshees to be like a big one, but, and it still is. I feel like it's the third most likely here, but I feel like it's really between these two. And it's hard to predict because the Oscars could go the Oscar route and give it to Spielberg for making a movie about kind of the love of cinema and his childhood and everything, and just celebrating that. And then Everything Everywhere All at Once, it's kind of like, you know, more of the underdog because it's an indie project. Well, kind of, it's like A24 and, you know, definitely more out there and everything, and artsy and whatnot. So that would be a big one as well. And just in recent years, I feel like the Oscars, like directing and picture and stuff, it's been going to movies that are kind of more out of the norm and more diverse and stuff. So I could see it being Everything Everywhere All at Once. I really think it's between these two. My personal pick would probably be Spielberg for Fabelmans, but I could almost see Fabelmans coming out of the award season, or coming out of the Oscars empty-handed, and I could see Everything Everywhere All at Once taking this. It'll be interesting to see. That's kind of my prediction right now. I think if I had to make a genuine prediction, I think Everything Everywhere All at Once. I just think it could go that way. Documentary projects, I haven't watched any. Film editing: Banshees of Inisherin, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Tar, and Top Gun Maverick. Wildly different movies. I mean, you have something like Banshees of Inisherin where the editing isn't something you really think about. Like, it's a well put together movie, and then you just don't really think about the editing. Something like Elvis is super flashy, and the editing is something that very much so stands out as being like chaotic and crazy. And I don't think it's bad editing. I might not love the style of the movie, but I don't think it's badly edited. Whereas like something like, you know, everybody talks about Bohemian Rhapsody winning a couple of years ago. That was genuinely bad editing because it would be a simplistic dialogue scene and there would be multiple cuts every couple of seconds. And it's like, what's going on? And it's a dialogue scene. Elvis, you know, they saved the crazy editing for the crazy performances and like the scene transitions. So they used it in a more fitting way. So it's like, I liked the editing in the movie and I also didn't like it because it's intrusive at times and it's weird. Everything Everywhere All at Once, though, I think is the winner this year just because I feel like everybody, like, normally to me with editing, you don't hear about it unless it's people complaining, right? Like, I only ever hear about editing when it's like, oh, that's a poorly edited movie, it's so choppy, like, or it's so many cuts. I don't really hear about positive editing, but this year, Everything Everywhere All at Once, I actually did hear a lot of positive things about the editing. I remember people just saying, if this doesn't win editing, that's insane. So I feel like just because of that talk, it's probably got a good chance. Because like this one, Tar and Banshees, it's like editing you don't think about. Top Gun, you know, I guess they would have to like edit all these really cool plane shots, and that would probably be kind of difficult because you have to work with what you got. So I don't know. I feel like it's between Everything Everywhere and like Top Gun maybe. Maybe Elvis, I don't know, because sometimes the Oscars, they've given it to films that are like more flashy and stuff, so who knows. International feature film, I don't even really have to go over this category. I've only seen one of them, and it's the only one that's actually nominated for Best Picture at the end of the day, so by default, I think Western Front is winning this. I don't think they submitted it for the nominations. That's why it's not on there. Because I think if it was nominated, it maybe would have won. I don't know, but they didn't nominate it. So makeup and hairstyling, All Quiet on the Western Front, The Batman, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Elvis, and The Whale. Interesting category this year, really good one. I think everybody predicted these three. It's great to see Batman make its way in there. All Quiet on the Western Front is, I would say, the weakest out of these ones, to be honest. It just doesn't, like, if you're talking specifically makeup and hairstyling, it doesn't stand out to me. Whereas, okay, Batman, I mean, they insanely good job with Colin Farrell transforming him into the Penguin. And that was insane. So, like, to me, that just immediately stands out. Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Did they paint the people blue? I don't know. I don't really know what they did with that movie when it came to the makeup. Hairstyling. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm pretty sure that's what won back in 2018. So, the first one. Elvis definitely makes sense. I mean, I know some people don't like the way Tom Hanks looks in the movie. I still think it's a really good, makeup job. But then they nail the look of Elvis. They nail the hairstyles for all the characters over the decades. And then The Whale, obviously Brendan Fraser. So it's kind of the battle of the fat suits this year. Like Batman, Elvis, and Whale. I honestly, I'm going to go with Elvis as my guess because there's... Like, if you're talking Batman, I feel like you're just thinking Penguin. If you're talking Whale, you're just thinking Brendan Fraser. If you're talking Elvis, I'm thinking Elvis with the hairstyles and the looks and everything and all the other characters, and I'm thinking Tom Hanks. So I feel like it just has more to offer than the other two do, but it's tough to say. I don't think it's Black Panther this year, to be honest. I just don't see it winning it. I would obviously love to see the Batman win anything, so if it won, I would be happy, but I'm going to guess Elvis, and my personal pick is honestly any of those three. Music, original score, we have All Quiet on the Western Front, Babylon, Banshees, Everything Everywhere at Once, and The Fabelmans. Not a fan of the score for All Quiet on the Western Front. It's a very, like, digital sounding score. And it does kind of have this, like, sense of terror to the music when all the sounds are just like these, like, I don't know how to describe them, but they're using the music because the film is supposed to be terrifying from a war perspective. These characters are supposed to be in horror about what's going on. And so I guess the music works in that sense, but I just don't like that it's, like, more digital when the movie is, like, a war film set in, like, 1916, 1917. This doesn't really work, in my opinion. It doesn't really feel like it fits. So I wouldn't have nominated that. I feel like something, again, I don't want to be that guy, but I feel like the Batman... Everybody talked about the score for that movie this year, and I feel like that easily could have snuck its way into this category. Didn't have to win, but I feel like it was deserving of a nomination. Justin Hurwitz for Babylon, I mean, he did an amazing job with the score for First Man, which I don't even think was nominated for score. I could be wrong, but I don't think it was nominated for score. And he won for Whiplash, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure he won for La La Land if he did that movie as well. So, I mean, him and Damien Chazelle are a very good combo. Banshees of Inisherin, I can't really think of the score off the top of my head. That's the thing with the score category sometimes. It's like, it goes to these movies that get nominated where it's like, the score isn't something that I actually think about afterwards and, like, go back to and listen to. Like, Babylon, yeah, I did think about the score. The Batman, I thought about the score. But I don't think about the score for Banshees of Inisherin. It's good in the movie when it's happening, but it's never something I really process and go think to myself, like, that's a good score. Everything Everywhere at Once, same thing. Fabelmans, honestly, kind of same thing. It's John Williams, so it makes sense that it's in there, but I just, again, didn't really think about it. My guess and my pick is Babylon. I think it's the one that stood out the most of these nominees, easily. Really good score. Okay, original song, kind of an odd category to me, because a lot of songs that are nominated are ones that aren't even in the movie. They're, like, in the credits, and you just don't even, like, know it's from the film. Like... I don't even remember there being an original song for Everything Everywhere at Once. It was probably during the credits. Lift Me Up, credits. Hold My Hand, end of movie / credits. Don't even know what that is. And then Natu Natu, which seems to be, like, super popular. Just from everything I've heard, I'm guessing that this is what's going to win. That's my guess. My personal favorite was probably Lift Me Up, actually. I just thought it was a really nice song, especially, like, emotion-wise. It does a good job of accompanying what the movie's about. And the loss of Chadwick Boseman and everything. So that's my personal favorite, but I feel like Natu Natu wins. Best Picture, I'll do last. I'm going to scroll down here. Okay, I'll go to production design. We've got Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar, Babylon, Elvis, Fablemans. Western Front, I guess. I mean, yeah, it's good production design. I don't have an issue with it. It's just not what I think will win. Avatar, a lot of it's like CG, so it's kind of weird, because when I think of production design, I think of like physical sets that have been built, and I feel like a lot of Avatar isn't that. Babylon totally makes sense, you know, the big mansion that they're in at the start, all of the like the sets that they're filming on, in like the desert, just tons of locations in that movie. Elvis makes sense as well. Fablemans, to me, doesn't stand out as much because it's mostly houses and stuff, but again, they're probably not real houses, they're probably sets, so yeah, I'm gonna guess, and I'm gonna go with Babylon as my pick and what I think will win. I think it's the one that stands out the most for both of those things. Again, Batman probably could have been in here and I would have been happy as well, because Gotham has never looked better, but not surprised that it wasn't nominated. But yeah, Babylon's my pick, and that's what I think will win. Sound. Okay, we got All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: The Way of Water, Batman, Elvis, and Top Gun: Maverick. Really good. All of these are extremely solid this year. I think all of these were great. Top Gun, I mean, the sound of a jet roaring and flying over never gets old. Elvis does genuinely have fantastic sound design. The particular scene that comes to my mind is when he's like rehearsing with the band. I think they're in Vegas, and he's just kind of like telling them to like bring up the instruments. It's like dun 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 dun, and then he's going there like ha 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 ha, and the camera's like zooming in, zooming in, zooming in, zooming in. That's where like I actually do like the editing style of that movie. So it just depends on the moment. But that whole scene I thought sounded incredible. So it's like I would be happy with Elvis winning, honestly. Batman, I mean, totally the sound of the freaking Batmobile, all that stuff. It's so well put together. Everything sounds amazing in that movie. And then Avatar, all of the creature sounds, everything going on. Yeah, it totally makes sense. Again, I don't want to be like, I don't dislike Quiet on the Western Front. I thought it was really good. I just like, again, I think it's probably the least likely to win in my opinion. My personal pick, it's between these three, I would say. What I think will win is kind of tough to say. I feel like it probably could be Avatar, but I'd be very happy with Elvis. What I want to win, again, I honestly don't know. I guess I would say Avatar or Elvis. I don't know. Visual effects, we got All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar, The Batman, Black Panther, and Top Gun: Maverick. All great visual effects, but Avatar's winning by default. It wins. It takes the award. It's not even a question. There has been some times in previous years where, like, you know, everybody was like thinking, or everybody was like, you know, we want Infinity War to win visual effects, and it ended up being First Man, and I remember a lot of people were like disappointed by that. Like, if you look at the like to dislike ratio on the video, there's a lot of dislikes. Same thing a year after that. Like, I thought Lion King was like a shoo-in win, but a lot of people thought it was going to be Endgame, and it ended up being 1917. So sometimes they do just really like the practical effects, like the movies that the effects don't stand out to you as much, right? Like, it just looks realistic, and that's enough. Like First Man, everything, I never once questioned the look of the movie. When they're landing on the moon, I thought it looked incredible, or I thought it looked realistic, and that's why it won. Whereas like something like Avengers, yeah, it's more out there and obviously not as realistic looking because there's no purple man with a gauntlet in real life. So yeah, so like this, but I still think Avatar's winning this year. Despite my statement, I still think Avatar's winning. I don't think it's gonna go to like Western Front or something like that that's more realistic. I feel like Avatar still deserves to win because it's just incredible. And I mean, Black Panther being in the same category as Avatar is kind of hilarious, considering like both of them are heavily, you know, underwater focused movies, and one of them clearly stands out more than the other in that regard. So yeah, and Top Gun, I don't think. Batman would be cool, but I doubt it. All right, writing adapted screenplay. We have All Quiet on the Western Front, Glass Onion, and Knives Out murder mystery, Living, which I have. Oh yeah, no, it's at the top of the list. That's right. Top Gun: Maverick, and Women Talking. Okay, Top Gun is kind of an interesting one to even be in there because like I just wouldn't have guessed it to have been nominated for screenplay, because when I think screenplay, I think dialogue, and like Top Gun very much so is just a classic Hollywood blockbuster feeling movie. Like I wouldn't say the writing is particularly amazing. I liked the story, I liked the characters, but screenplay, I don't know, just kind of surprises me. Glass Onion, I didn't think was as good as the first Knives Out. Still enjoyable, but I just wouldn't expect it to win this year. I feel like it's probably between Western Front and Women Talking. I think Women Talking, I haven't seen it, but I'm pretty sure it's a much more dialogue-focused movie. So I feel like that is what will probably win, and probably what should win if it does have as good of a screenplay as they're saying. So yeah, I would guess that will be the one that wins, just because it's probably very dialogue-focused. Writing original screenplay: Banshees of Inisherin, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Fabelmans, Tar, and Triangle of Sadness. I don't think Everything Everywhere All at Once for this one. I would actually be surprised, to be honest. I don't think it will win. I think it's between Fabelmans and Banshees. Triangle of Sadness, I've heard some people talk about it being kind of too like overly long, so maybe not. Tar was really good as well, but again, I'm thinking either Fabelmans or Banshees. And like, to me, I feel like Banshees would stand out more in the Oscars' eyes, but from like my personal pick would be Fabelmans, because I think the movie kind of hit every note it needed to. It was a really good family drama. It was also comedic at times. It was sad, right? Like it did all those things in its screenplay. Banshees was also very comedic and also, you know, at times sad and stuff. So it's tough. I think it's between those two. It could be Everything Everywhere All at Once. That would be kind of surprising to me though. I'm gonna guess Banshees. My personal pick's Fabelmans. I'm guessing Banshees, but I think Fabelmans is like very likely as well. All right, and then to end this all off, we have Best Picture, which we have Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar, Banshees, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Fabelmans, Tar, Top Gun, Triangle of Sadness, and Women Talking. So those are the only two I need to watch. Everything else I have seen. Really good, not winning. Really good, not winning, and somewhat surprised it was nominated. Extremely good from like an Oscar-y standpoint. Good, decent chance at winning. Good movie, has some issues not winning at all. Extremely high chance. No. It's between Banshees. I don't even think it's between Banshees. I think it's between Fabelmans and Everything Everywhere All at Once. And again, I don't know. Honestly, if I had to make a guess right now, I'm going to say Everything Everywhere All at Once. Just the way the Oscars have been the last few years with, just like, you know, a couple years ago we had, Parasite win, and that was a really big deal. Like a movie that was, like an international feature film, like a different language, winning Best Picture was kind of a big deal. Not that Everything Everywhere All at Once is in a different language, but you know, it's a majority like Asian cast, so that would again be kind of a big deal. So I could see that happening again. Like I could see it being kind of the underdog movie, whatever you want to call it, as far as like being made by like a more like art house kind of film and everything like that. Whereas like Fabelmans would definitely just be like kind of the straightforward pick. Like, yeah, it's a love letter to cinema and it's Spielberg and everything, so it would totally make sense. My personal favorite of these nominees, I mean, for enjoyment, is probably Top Gun. In terms of like quality and what I think it seems the more Oscar-y winner, I think Fabelmans should win. Because I'll be honest, I wasn't a huge fan of Everything Everywhere All at Once. It was just a little too chaotic for me, and it just wasn't really my kind of movie, but I still admire it, and I still thought it was well made. It just wasn't for me. It's not like something like last year, like with Power of the Dog, where I was just bored out of my mind and just didn't think it was good. Like Everything Everywhere All at Once, good movie, just not for me. So my personal pick is Fabelmans. I think it's gonna be one of these two though, and I could see Fabelmans making it out with 0 wins. I kind of see that happening, and I see Everything Everywhere All at Once winning. We'll see. But yeah, those are the Oscar nominations this year. Pretty solid list for sure. I'm looking forward to watching them in whatever month it is. March. I think it's like March 12th or something. It's pretty early, which is nice. I think it's March 12th. Yes, March 12th. Nice. I remember like one year it was like end of April, and it was like, what? So yeah, solid lineup this year. I kind of wish Northman got a couple of technical things. I guess mostly if it just got a cinematography nomination, I'd be happy. Nope. Kind of surprised it didn't make it into like sound or visual effects or something like that. And Batman, I feel like probably could have been given a score and cinematography nod, and maybe production design. But yeah, overall, good lineup. Looking forward to the Oscars this year. I'll be watching them as always. And I'll do another video after the Oscars are done talking about what won and everything. But yeah, solid all around. Let me know what your picks are down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.